Prabhupada ki jai. Go Where is Allah? I'm not. Gosh. I need my computer. We gave him the name Allah Not, but we joke, Allah I am not. It's sometimes we forget Allah we are not. We're not God. We forget sometimes. We say never forget Krishna, always remember him. Never forget you're not Krishna. Prabhu, why were you doing that? Why you're in Maya? Oh, I forgot I wasn't Krishna. Yeah. So, yesterday we had discussed the problem that every conditioned soul faces, which is when we learn something, it's not necessarily true that we practice it. And I think we all understand that. First you learn the idea, and then you start to feel it and put it into your life. But the problem that we discussed yesterday was sometimes we don't even know we're not practicing it. We think we are. And the problem with distinguishing between knowing something and being able to do it is difficult, because when we know it, we think we're doing it. Like the poor guy in the street says, you say, would you like to come to the seminar, how to make $1 million? He goes, I've been to all those seminars, I know. So, I don't think you know. Would you like being poor? No, then we made the point that you know it when you live it, when you do it, that's when you know it. And so it was kind of like a check-in. Don't assume you know what you think you know, unless you're doing it. And try to be, and so that opens up the next ideas. Be aware of what you're not doing that you think you're doing, because sometimes we're not even aware when we're not doing something or we're doing the wrong thing. And we gave the reason as to, because if I think that I'm doing the right thing, if that's my conception, I'm a person who does the right thing. When I do the wrong thing, I don't notice it. Because I think a person like myself could never do the wrong thing. And so when I do it, it doesn't register that I did the wrong thing. It's interesting, the way the mind works. So that was one section, and we had discussed the importance of that statement Prabhupada made, show people that Krishna loves them by your behavior. Like, how could I behave towards people to show them Krishna's love, and how important that was in bringing people to Krishna consciousness. And how difficult it is if we are teaching one thing but not living it. And it makes it difficult for people to come to Krishna consciousness because they think we're hypocrites or that nobody can follow. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but in a lot of branches of Christianity, they teach that only Jesus could follow his instructions, that you actually can't follow all of them. So could you imagine Krishna consciousness came to the point where we were teaching that actually Prabhupada's the only one who could follow? And I think that came about by the fact that they were unable to follow. And so at some point they realized nobody can follow. And they developed a new philosophy. But for us, following that's what it means to be Acharya. Mahaprabhu told Thakur Haridas, he said, some people know the philosophy really well, but don't practice it. Some people practice the philosophy, don't know it well, but you know the philosophy and you practice it. And that's Acharya. That's the meaning of Acharya. One who sets an example. And that Shrutikirti once said to Prabhupada, that Prabhupada, I don't think this movement would have spread if your books came, but you didn't come personally. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's correct. So the presence of someone who models what he's teaching is necessary. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the early days of ISKCON, what attracted people to Krishna consciousness was the fact that they could understand Prabhupada was on a higher level of consciousness than they were. They didn't know how he got there. They didn't know what it was, but they could see it was higher. And they were all taking LSD. And here comes a person who's not taking any drugs. He's higher than all of them. And that's what attracted them. We want to be where this person is. So if you meet someone who's a sadhu, who has saintly qualities, who exemplifies the qualities of a devotee, if someone meets us exhibiting those qualities, many, many people will be attracted and they'll say, I want to be like you. Or vice versa. If we don't exhibit those, I don't want to be like you. You know, you chant Hare Krishna and you become unkind, uncompassionate, intolerant, angry, etc. Why would anyone want to chant Hare Krishna if they thought that's what was going to happen? But they see we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're happy, we're tolerant, we're peaceful, we're compassionate. Like, wow, this mantra works. So that's extremely important. And then at the end of the class, we discussed another topic, which is that Krishna asks us, and the spiritual master asks us to do things. And oftentimes, there can be a feeling that I'm conditioned in a certain way, and this is just the way I am, and I can't change. You ever feel like that? Prabhu, you should be this way. Just the way I am. You know, get used to it. I can't change. I mean, in some cases, you know, if you're an introvert, you're not going to become an extrovert overnight, or vice versa. But we're talking about things that can be changed, you know, purification. And so, I think it's common sense that Krishna would not ask us to do certain things if we couldn't. It would be unfair. So the fact that Krishna is saying, be this way, be that way, Prabhupada's asking us to be a certain way, means that we are over time able to do that. And so we discussed this idea that sometimes some people say, I can't forgive this person, it's impossible, they don't deserve my forgiveness. If I forgive them, they'll become worse, etc., etc. And you remember at the end of class we said, would we like to offer the world more forgiveness or more resentment, especially as devotees? We should offer more compassionate, more everything, right? That's our job. So everybody agreed, yeah, we should offer the world more forgiveness. And so the point is, we can do it. It's not that we're eternally bound. We gave the example of the pen, kind of a pen. This is our resentment. And the hand that's holding on to it is us, and we're in control of that. We're in control of holding it. And therefore, when it's like you have a pot of water and the water is boiling, and the reason the water is boiling is because the flame's on. So we have this pot of boiling resentment, but we're the one who turned the fire on, and just turn the fire off. It's going to cool down. It doesn't feel like that, but that's actually what's happening. If we have resentment, it feels like, well, it's just circumstantial, or anyone in this situation would feel this way. But the reality we have to understand is we have the flame on. We're keeping it alive. If you turn the flame, it's going to die. So you can get rid of it. You have to turn the flame off. So that's important to recognize, that we're actually keeping it alive. I know it doesn't feel like it, but that's what's happening, because we have a choice. We could let it go. So that's an important distinction, not just with resentment, but with so many things. So that's where we ended class, and then we had a little discussion after class, the post-game show. Their post-game roundup that some of you were here for. And what was the question that you asked at the post-game roundup?
If we have some resentment, or we can't forgive someone from the past, if we have problems in our present relationship.
Yeah. The answer to that question is it depends why you can't forgive them. And that reason could be problematic in all your relationships. And I think, there's a saying, it's kind of funny, but it's so true. In every bad relationship you ever had, you were there. Which means you had some contribution to it. And another point I think I may have made on Monday, that we all don't respond equally to the same problem. So there's so many problems that all of us face. And if we were put up to face one problem, there would be different reactions, different ways of dealing with it. And maybe there's a person that doesn't get along with devotees, but you're the one who gets along with that person. No, I'm tired, I can't deal with that person, I can't talk to them, they're so difficult. And you know how to do it, right? So it's the same person that other people are having problems with, but you understand them. And then we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned that, I think we were mentioning yesterday that sometimes people are very critical, but it's just because they're frustrated, and there's a need that they have, and instead of expressing it in a healthy way, they're expressing it through criticism. But in most of us, it's when you're around a person who's always criticizing, we feel like, well, what can I say? If I say anything, they'll just get upset. But when you understand, they're expressing a need, you say something like, Prabhu, it looks like you're frustrated with something. What is it? And then they tell you what's actually going on, and then you have a conversation, and it helps them work through it. So you were the one who didn't react to them and didn't feel offended because they were criticizing you or somebody else, because you understood them. So then I said something which is so important. I said, this is my experience. I said that when you learn how to forgive, you have to be in a certain consciousness to be able to do it. Because when you have resentment, it's a consciousness that is like the fire under the water. So that consciousness is supporting your resentment. And that consciousness that supports resentment is the story. This is what they did. This is how I was treated. It's not fair. It's unjust, etc., etc. So that's the fire under the pot that's keeping it alive. And in order to forgive, the fire has to be turned off, which means the story has to change. So you have to have another story, like, well, they were in difficulty, and I didn't understand it, and I challenged them, or I did the same thing to them last year, and they're doing the same thing to me, or whatever it is. Or Krishna sent this person because I needed to learn a lesson, and they were showing me I need to be more compassionate and understanding, whatever it is. You change your story. And then when your story changes, now you don't have a story that supports your resentment. So it's so interesting. Was I saying this in class yesterday, or was it after?
After class.
After class. So this is so important. Any problem that you face, like internal problem, whatever it is, think about this. There's probably a story that's supporting that problem. And if you change the story, the problem changes. Like so often you come to the temple with a problem, you heard class and you come out and you're like, that solved my problem. But actually nothing really happened externally, did it? I mean, everything's the same. But what changed was your perception. Or you go you talk to a devotee, say, I have this problem, and you discuss it, and the devotee's helping you look at the problem from different angles. So you come out with a different view, and then you feel much better and say, oh, I didn't know. You say, Prabhu, just try to understand that devotee's mother just died. That's why they're so upset, and that's why they get upset to you. Oh, I didn't know that. Sometimes it's just a bit of information changes the story. I have a good one. You want to hear a good one? It's really good. You're never going to read this in a book. You're never going to hear this anyway. Only here today. This is your lucky day. So this was told to me by a devotee who was in a workshop, and that's why you wouldn't hear it, because it was only 100 people. One devotee told me. He didn't write it and publicize it. So he said that in this workshop they were trying to help people who had issues with other people resolve them. And so there was one young man in his 20s, and his issue was with his mother, because his mother abandoned him when he was born and gave him up for adoption. And he was never able to forgive her, and he never really discussed it with her. So I think he was like maybe 24, 25. So 25 years of his life, he just basically hated this woman. It was like, how could you put me up for adoption? How could a mother abandon her son. He was devastated, right? And so the facilitator of the workshop said, why don't you go talk to her? Did you ever talk to her about it? He said, no. So why don't you talk to her? Very emotional scene. He talked to his mother, and his mother said, you know, I was a drug addict when you were born. And the most difficult choice I made in my life was to give you up for adoption because I knew that was the best thing for you. Immediately, he just broke down. Completely changed. New story. Story changes, your perception changes, your experience changes, everything changes. So this is so interesting. Every resentment you have, there's a story. There's a fire under it that's keeping the water boiling. There's a story to support it. And if you just change the story, the resentment will go. Anyone who comes to my forgiveness workshop can tell you that they left the workshop with a different story that they came with. And that's why they were able to forgive. Isn't that interesting? And so you can think about this in your life, not only with the resentment, but with anything. Is there a story? You know, often these are stories that just validate our behavior. So I'm not, you know, I don't like you because you stole my Maha sweet. And, you know, I see you 20 years from now and I go, you know, you stole that Maha sweet from me 20 years ago, you rascal, you know. And they're like, you know, he's a nice devotee, you should be nice to, no. Not a nice devotee, stole my Maha sweet. You know, and you're all looking at me like, Prabhu, how old are you? You know, 4 or 3? And so, but I feel it's valid because you shouldn't steal other devotees' Maha sweets. You should, you know. Actually, one devotee stole a sweet from another devotee, and the devotee complained to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, that is Vaikuntha qualification. You've stolen his sweet. You know? Hare Krishna. So I guess it's okay. I guess you're okay now. But the point is, it's such a little thing, and you're all looking at me as like, why are you upset? And 20 years later, you still remember, you know, in 2025, he stole a sweet off your plate, you know. And so, if I have this story that what he did was wrong, then that justifies my behavior of being angry and resentful. And we know Shastra does not validate resentment. You know, you look at Shastra, you know. If anyone had a right to be resentful, it was Prahlad Maharaj, and he's praying for his father's liberation. Hare Krishna, like, that's off the charts, isn't it? Like, that's like way up there. But that's the example we have. Durvasa Muni wants to kill Ambarish. He's like, yeah, whatever, you know, it's okay, you know. When you're ready, breakfast is served. Come on over. You know, it's like, wow. Chakarharidas being beaten to death, praying. Jesus being beaten to death, praying. And so, okay, I know we read that and it's like, I can't do that. Yeah, that's understandable. But we don't want to be in a situation where with our stories are validating our misbehavior, our unsadhu-like behavior. That's not good. And we all have stories, don't we? Well, I was raised this way and I went through this and that, you know, it's like, but do you want a good story for taking another body? Is that like the goal, you know? Prabhu, how did you come back? Why did you come back and take birth? Well, I guess it was I had a good story to come back. And it's like, because I mean, that's what it is, you know. You want to go back to Godhead or you want a good story? It's basically a choice, isn't it? So why not have it? The real good story is the story that liberates you, the story that frees you. Otherwise, the stories are there to just make excuses for our ill behavior. And why would you want an excuse to act improperly? One person said, excuses are rationale for doing the wrong thing. That's all they are. That's an interesting definition, isn't it? Like, if you think of any excuse you make, it gives you a rationale to not feel guilty or to try to convince other people why you're doing it. But you're doing the wrong thing and you're going to get a reaction for it. So why would you want a validation for doing the wrong thing? You get any, and then the subsequent reaction. It doesn't make sense. And the same teacher said something else. He gave a whole workshop on excuses. It was very interesting. And he said, let's say you have an excuse. And this is the reason you can't do something, whatever that something is, but you want to do that something, whether it's developing a quality or giving up bad behavior or whatever it is. You want to do it, but you have an excuse, so you can't do it. So he said, when you're in that situation, when you're acting a certain way, you don't want to act that way, and you have an excuse that's going to make you act that way, just think, what if I couldn't use this excuse? What would I do now? Prabhu, I can't go out and distribute books. Okay, you can't use that because, okay, you can't use that excuse. Now what are you going to do? Like, how do you, Sisi Radha London Ishwar, how do you, that excuse is blocking you from going forward. So he's just suggesting, imagine you can't use it. Now what are you going to do? Very interesting, right? And then one devotee told me something else about excuses, which I often use this in my workshops. He said one of the top coaches in the three worlds is in England, and he befriended him, and this coach said, whenever you are trying to achieve something, there's two things that are going to happen. One, either you will achieve it and get the result you want, or two, you will make an excuse and not that result, blah, blah, blah. Not get the result you want. And so he said, you either will get results or excuses. Those are the two things you'll get. I love that. Isn't it? You'll get results or you'll get excuses why you didn't get results. So which one do you want? Obviously we want results, but often we get excuses. And then just remember this, those excuses are grounded in the soil of stories to support them, which are rationale. And then it's like we defeat ourselves. We work against ourselves. We're good at that, aren't we? Working against ourselves. So, very important point. Sometimes the solution to a problem is simply the change of a story. That's all it is. And we have many things in Shastra to change our stories, don't we? So many things to change our stories. So, before I go on to today's lesson, I just wanted to make sure what we've done in the last 2 days is clear. And so if anyone has any questions or some point that they think is really important to bring up so we all remember, then you can bring that point up. Yes?
I was just appreciating this point about the stories. And then you're giving so many examples from the Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's other books. It seems like instead of being attached to our own false ego stories, we can actually surrender those and take shelter of these stories that we're getting about the pure devotees and learn from their example, follow that.
Yeah, it's the whole point. How did they do it? The problem is, the way you can make an excuse, well, that's them, and I'm not them, so they can do it and I can't. That's very common, isn't it? Did you ever read a story? Like, Prahlad Maharaj is like, Lord Nrsingadev says, what do you want? It's like, when my father takes birth again, kill him again, kill him for the next zillion lifetimes. That rascal tried to kill me. And he says, liberate him, which is like, oh my God, that's like off the charts compassion. And you see that, and you're like, I don't know if I could do that. All right, and so, but you have the example, so what do you do with that example now? You can't throw it out. So the way we process is that, okay, it's an inspiration to be compassionate. What could you do right now today to be more compassionate than you were yesterday? That's how we have to take it. Because if you try to take it up to imitating him, you're going to fail. And then why would you even try? It's too high. Yeah, don't try, it's too high. I can't do that. Could you be a little more tolerant? Yeah, of course. Could I be a little more compassionate? Of course. Could I be a little more like Prahlad Maharaj? Ambarish Maharaj, the way he dealt with Durvasa was incredible, an incredible example, because As the story goes, Ambarish did not make an offense to Durvasa Muni, but Durvasa Muni took it as an offense. And Durvasa is an expansion of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is easily angered, easily pleased, so he became easily angered, and he became so angry, pulled a hair, did a mantra, and produced a demon, an asura, who had the capacity to kill Ambarish. In other words, he was offended. He didn't. Could you imagine? I went over to your house and you served me a breakfast that I didn't like. And I go, well, that's it. It's time to kill you. So basically, that's what it was. You know, you couldn't fulfill my needs, so as a consequence, I will kill you. Right? Yeah. I mean, talk about unjust. That's probably, you know, a scale of 1 to 10. That's 11 in the unjust level of injustice. And as the story goes, Krishna protected Ambarish with his Sudarshan chakra, and that Sudarshan chakra was going after Durvasa. Instead of Ambarish being killed, Krishna gave the chakra. And Durvasa, he went all over the universe asking for protection, and went all the way to Vishnu. And Vishnu said, the only way you can be freed from an offense is you have to go to the devotee and ask forgiveness. It's the only way I can't do it. He has to forgive you. He comes back to Durvasa, asks for forgiveness, and Durvasa's like, for what? Like, you didn't do anything wrong. What? He just tried to kill him because he didn't offer breakfast. He ate something. He didn't really eat, but he broke a fast before Durvasa ate, and he was going to kill him for that. And Durvasa's like, it's cool, just chill, let's have breakfast, you know, it's good. That's what he did. Inconceivable, right? And we're in the temple, and we're about to go offer flowers to Prabhupada, and someone goes in front of us. It's like, who do they think they are? That devotee's so puffed up. And then you could have an issue over that. Yes?
Yes.
Or someone moved my shoes. Why'd you move my shoes? I'm looking for my shoes, and you moved my shoes. You're like, well, it's so frustrating. I'm late. I have to go. It took me 4 minutes to find my shoes. Who did it? I want to find out who did it, so I could give them a piece of my mind. You know, that's what we're like. So when you read these stories, it's like, okay, if a pure devotee can forgive someone for trying to kill them for absolutely no good reason, maybe I could, you know, let the devotee go, offer the flowers, maybe I could be nice, you know. It's like that. That's how we take it. And gradually, as we advance, we'll get closer and closer. And you can't imitate the behavior of a pure devotee. You can't artificially, you know, feel that way, but you can get inspired to move forward, because that's the direction we're supposed to go. It's a really important point. Because I've seen so many devotees just throw in the towel, and they don't get the inspiration from those stories. Actually, they get discouraged by those stories. Because it's like, you know, if you're a perfectionist and you look at that story, it's like, it's either do or die. And I can't do it, so I'll just like, why bother? That's the problem being a perfectionist. If you can't do it perfect, why do it at all? Isn't it? So you look at all these stories of perfect devotees that you could never be like, maybe never, ever. These are rare devotees. But you can be a little bit more like them today than you were yesterday, right? Yes? That's how you take those stories. So there's so much inspiration in the Shastra to improve if we take it that way. Anyone else have a question, comment? Yes?
I think an important point is that whenever somebody does something wrong and we want revenge or we feel resentment, either way it doesn't benefit us. So Prahlad Maharaj would have no benefit if he asked for Hiranyakashipu's punishment.
Right.
So,
And we would not have any benefit either.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The point is that if Prahlad, at least that Prahlad did not pray for his father's well-being. He just, Lord Nrsimha said, what do you want? He just said, I don't want anything. And nobody would complain about Prahlad Maharaj. Why didn't you pray for your father? Everybody would just think, yeah, of course, it's normal he didn't pray for his father, right? Or if he prayed that his father would suffer, a lot of people would say, yeah, that's just that's what I would ask also. So the point is that we know the normal human reactions to these situations, and these examples of devotees are not doing that because they're telling us, you want to try to be a devotee, this is the direction you have to go. And it's basically impossible because you're going against your conditioning, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. You go out, you distribute books, people are like, get out of here, whatever, And, we don't like being humble, being a nobody. We like being a somebody. So for those people, we're all nobodies, losers. Look at this loser, can't get a job, wearing a costume, diapers, and, like war paint on his forehead, That's how they make you feel sometimes. It's not easy. But the compassion overrides that. And so we do it. And we're really going against the grain of our human nature. And that's what it means to be a devotee. And that compassion is natural in a purified state. All these things are natural in a purified state. It's just we're not purified. So they're not natural. They're difficult. But as we said on Monday, I think we said, you will develop qualities that you practice. So the road to compassion is the practice of compassion. The road to humility is the practice of humility. My dear devotees, you ever have an argument with another devotee or another person at work where you're in the mood like, I'm right and you're wrong, conversation over? You ever have one of those? Yeah. Did you understand the question? Did you ever have one of those conversations? I'm just right, It's like, why are we talking about this? I'm wasting time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how humble is that? With 10 being the highest and 0 being the lowest. How humble is that? 15. 0. No, 15's high, yeah. Mine is 5, yeah. Isn't it interesting? I mean, we teach this course in humility, and we show all the ways you could practice humility that you don't normally think would be actions of humility, like this. Well, I'm just right. What's the problem? There's no, why waste time discussing? Hare Krishna. I don't know if that means I said the wrong thing or the right thing. Maybe the speaker's going into ecstasy. Hare Krishna. Yes. So we're going against our nature. That's the challenge. Well, actually, you could say we're going towards our nature, but our conditioned nature is so difficult to overcome, but that's the process. And then the more you do those actions, the more those qualities develop, and that's called sadhana. Sometimes devotees say, but Prabhu, it's just false. I don't feel that way. Well, okay, let's go with that. You shouldn't do it unless you feel like it. Raise your hand if you didn't feel like chanting japa this morning, but you did. Yeah. So if you're just going to go with your feeling, how many rounds you're going to chant this year? Maybe 5 or 10, There's a famous story, which I don't know how famous it is in England for all of you, but Garga Muni, one of the early disciples of Prabhupada, he said this to the Prabhupada. He said, everyone's paying obeisances, but it's artificial for me to do it because I don't feel like it. You know that feeling like I don't bow down to anybody kind of feeling, you know. So there's probably some of that, you know. I just like, why should I bow down? There's nothing in me that says bow down. And Prabhupada said, no, you should bow down, because if you bow down, you will feel like bowing down. That's such an important point we had discussed on Monday. So sadhana is doing all the things, or doing many things that maybe you don't feel like doing, because by doing them, you will feel like doing them. I don't feel like being compassionate. Like I was a temple president in Vancouver I came there in 1970, and our main service was about 10 o'clock. We'd go out in Harinam and we'd stay out till 6. And we did that 6 days a week. And it was really hard to get the devotees to go out. It's like especially in the winter. Vancouver has a similar weather. You just go west, straight west, and you'll be in Vancouver. It's the same. What is it, longitude or latitude? It's the same latitude. Latitude is high and longitude is... Women are so intelligent. It's amazing. So, I couldn't get them to go out. It was like, it's time to go. Prabhu, get ready to go. Do we have to? Can we go later? And so we'd go out. This is a true story. I'm not making it up for, dramatic effects. This is true. We'd stay out till 6, and at 6 o'clock I'd say, it's time to go. Can we stay longer? I don't want to go back. And every day was like that. It's the same scene in the morning. I don't want to go out. It's the same scene in the evening. I don't want to come back. Sadhana means practice. Why do you have to practice? Because it's not natural. So you do it. And as you practice, you get better. So 26 qualities, practice them. And then one time Prabhupada said, we should see how those 26 qualities are developing. And, that whole argument, well, they're just going to develop by being a devotee, they just come. And he's saying, no, you should see. Are you practicing them? You can't just wait for them. The best example I could give, there's Bhakta Burfi, hasn't taken a bath in like 3 days. Bhakta Burfi does everything wrong. Total fanatic, doesn't understand anything. Bhakta Burfi, what's up? You haven't taken a bath in 3 days. And Bhakta Burfi says, well, one of the qualities of a devotee is that they're clean. And cleanliness develops as a byproduct of bhakti. So someday I'm going to take a bath when it happens. When I, become more advanced, then I'll become clean. And that's when I'll take a bath. And you, what would you say to Bhakta Burfi? You say, Bhakta Burfi, it doesn't work that way. It said, cleanliness is next to godliness, so you should take a bath, because that will help you. It'll clean your consciousness. And if you take a bath, you'll feel so good, you'll want to take another bath later in the day. Yeah. Isn't that what you would say? So why not apply that to everything? Because that's how it works. I don't feel like acting this way. I don't think this person deserves me to be kind to them. Then we had a question after class. Well, I think, what was the question? You asked the question. You're kind to somebody, but they're not kind back. Yeah. So then, this is such a good question, because if you give me a Rolex watch for my birthday, then I'm thinking, when your birthday comes, I'm thinking, okay, let me look up how much did that watch cost. How much a Rolex is, like 5,000 pounds or something? 6,000. She knows. You have one? She's got her eye on her Rolex, yeah. And the Rolex tells the same time as my Casio, in case you didn't. So, okay, 6,000, right? So, you give me a $6,000 watch for my birthday, and now it's your birthday. I'm like, oh my God, I think I have to sell this watch to be able to buy you a $6,000 present, because I'm not going to buy you a pair of socks after you give me a Rolex, isn't it? But if on my birthday you give me a pair of socks, it's probably what I will buy you. Socks, or maybe I'll get a scarf or a handkerchief or something, So, it's easy to be nice when people are nice. And it's not when they're not. So here's the story. Many of you know the story. it's so important. It's the story of the scorpion and the sadhu. And in India, this time of year it rains. So when it rains a lot, this even happens in Alachua where I'm from, when it rains a lot, you get all these like little lakes that don't exist any other time of year. And some of these lakes are like basically on walking paths. It's just the ground is lower and the rain falls into it. So this sadhu's walking on a path through these like little ponds. And he sees a scorpion, and the scorpion, if the scorpion doesn't get out of the water, the scorpion's going to die. So he thought, well, I'll just pick up the scorpion and I'll take the scorpion out of the water. But because the scorpion's business is to bite, he just bit the sadhu, and the sadhu threw the scorpion. I guess the sadhu maybe knew the scorpion's going to bite, and then he throws the sadhu ahead. And there's a man watching this. It's like, what's up here? And then the sadhu picks up the scorpion again. You know, he throws him, walks forward, picks him up, throws him. And he could see every time he picks him up, he's getting bitten because the sadhu's like, ah! And this person's looking at the sadhu, and he's like, why is he doing this? So when the sadhu finally made it out, close to the man comes down, the scorpion is saved. And he said, why did you do that? The scorpion kept biting you. And he said, well, the scorpion taught me a lesson. Would you like to hear the lesson?
Yes.
Just checking that you're still awake. Would you like? So he said, I was helping the scorpion, and even though I'm helping the scorpion, he keeps biting me. He said, that's the nature of a scorpion. He's going to bite even if you help. So then I thought, well, I'm a sadhu, at least I'm supposed to be a sadhu. So if the scorpion won't stop biting me, even though I'm trying to help him, then why should I not continue to be kind even though he's biting me? Because my nature is to be kind. So he won't change his nature because I'm kind, and I'm not going to change my nature because he's biting. Isn't that beautiful? So, yes, you like that? Yes. So, then I told you yesterday, and I said, if you change your nature because of another person, that other person is controlling you. You make me so angry. No, I don't. No, I don't. Or it makes you feel good if someone says that. Ha, 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 I make him angry. You know? I have control of him. So, have you ever looked at someone, devotee, non-devotee, and you're like criticizing them? Look at that devotee. Look at him. Look at those rounds he's chanting. They're horrible, blah, blah, blah. Right? You ever done that? Or something like that? There's a saying, when a person misbehaves and you get upset, you punish yourself for their misbehavior. So that person's actually controlling you emotionally because you're focused on what you don't like and it's upsetting you, and so their bad behavior is causing you to be upset and it's causing your bad behavior. So if we're just gonna, like, I can't be nice to you because you're not nice to me, that means you have control over me. Doesn't it? Yes? Yeah. So then I told her a beautiful story, kind of like the sadhu story. In America, after slavery, it was like 1860s or so, one slave had arisen to political dominance. And of course the whole government is white, but this slave is black, so he's like the first politician, black, or one amongst the first. And all his friends are asking him, how can you work with the white people? Because they enslaved us. And he said, I will never allow any man to degrade my soul by causing me to become upset with him. So for what they did, I'm not going to ruin my life, ruin my consciousness because of what they did. Isn't that beautiful? How often do we ruin our consciousness because of what someone else does? Like, often. And so that person is controlling us. So I'm a sadhu. You bite me, I still act as a sadhu. That's the idea. Right? One more. Would you like another story? Yeah. This is a really good story about forgiveness from Nelson Mandela. Similar situation because Nelson Mandela was imprisoned by the current government because he was a political enemy, basically. And finally, when he was let out of jail, similar question was asked to him, something like, don't you have resentment for all these people that opposed you in the government and imprisoned you? And he said, I'm getting out of jail now. If I walk out of jail with resentment towards them, I'll still be imprisoned. I'll still be bound. Beautiful, isn't it? So it's such an important point that when we allow issues of other people to affect us, then we're giving up our sadhu-like behavior because of the activity of another person. You should never give up your sadhu-like behavior, no matter what. Because our sadhu-like behavior is what pleases Krishna. So why should I do something that doesn't please him just because someone else upset me? Isn't it? I'm not saying, okay, I have to write a disclaimer for every class I've given here. This is the disclaimer. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And Prabhupada would sometimes, when they'd say, Prabhupada, it's not easy, and he would say, I never said it was. But it's necessary. So it's a really important point. Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
With this aspect of humility, sometimes that can lead other people to be able to take advantage of you quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you stop that? How do you be kind to yourself?
Well,
Humility is not a weakness. If I know somebody somewhere in the universe could create batteries that never die. It's not just they can just get recharged with oxygen or something. I know that. I'm sure of it. How do we do it? Krishna.
Govinda, okay. Okay, what were you talking about? I got sidetracked. The question of, humility. Self-care, when you bring in self-care with humility, that's the self-care protects you, because self-care means you have to maintain your physical, emotional, and spiritual health. So you can't allow anyone to interfere with that in the name of humility. I'm going to exploit you and destroy you, and now you're finished. Your spiritual life is over because you allowed yourself to be abused in a way that was destructive. So that's not humility. Let's think of humility as a power, because, do you know the title of my course? Small is Powerful. That was the title of it. Because how difficult and how powerful must you be to think that you're little? It's easy to think you're big, right? But to think you're little, insignificant particle of spirit, that's difficult. But in that thinking that I'm an insignificant particle of spirit, that comes the real power, because you've overcome your false ego, and your false ego is your weakness. So, like we're talking about forgiveness, that sometimes you forgive someone, but you'll distance yourself. So it looks like, well, you must have not forgiven them because you don't want to be near them. No, Prabhu, he tried to kill me. It's not safe. I have to distance myself. So the point is, you never want to give up your forgiveness in the name of something practical, because you can take practical action and forgive at the same time. So I don't want to give, this idea, you can't be humble. It's like I have to be it's a contradiction. I have to be proud to maintain my Krishna consciousness. That doesn't make sense, because this person's going to exploit me. So it's not like I give up my humility to protect myself. It's a separate thing. I'm a humble servant of Krishna. I always am, I always will be, and I'll never forget that. But it doesn't mean you can exploit me, and I will let you, because that's not proper. So you don't change that internal thinking. No pure devotee thinks anything other than I'm a humble servant of Krishna. But you know that story when Prabhupada was invited to a program to speak, and before him a Mayavadi was speaking? And so, you know, when the Mayavadis speak, up to a certain level, they're going to say the same thing we say. You're not the body, you're spirit, soul, you're pure consciousness, karma, reincarnation, you know, and so forth. So he was doing that, and Prabhupada was okay. And then he started talking about impersonalism. And Prabhupada told the devotees, start a kirtan, which is kind of awkward, you know, in the middle of a lecture. Prabhupada saying, start a kirtan. What? Start a kirtan. So they interrupted him. The man's like, whoa. And they interrupted his talk right in the middle of it and did a kirtan. And then afterwards they asked Prabhupada, he said, like, what happened? And because he was, maybe he was speaking in Hindi, devotees didn't understand. He said, what happened, Prabhupada? And he said, well, he was speaking okay or nicely, but then when I heard him speak Mayavad, he said, I couldn't tolerate it. I just couldn't listen to it. I became so upset, I just had to stop it. Right? But does it mean at that moment Prabhupada wasn't humble? No. It doesn't mean that Prabhupada forgot that he's a tiny, insignificant servant of Krishna. It actually means that he remembered that I'm an insignificant servant of Krishna and I have to protect Krishna right now. So that humility is above, it's an identity, I'm eternal servant of Krishna. I'm going to tell you something. It's so beautiful, it's going to make your day. Maybe your week, maybe your month, maybe your year, maybe your life. This is from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. This is very realized knowledge. He said that there is nothing in the world that no power, no resources, wealth, anything that can cause a pure devotee to ever budge 1 iota, 1 inch from the realization that I'm just a humble servant of Krishna. Now, we were joking this morning, like when we fall into Maya, it's because I forgot that I'm not God. That's actually what's happening, isn't it? When we think of enjoying, it's because we're forgetting that we're not God. So what he's saying is that there is nothing, there is no situation that a pure devotee couldn't be in. There's nothing you can give him, there's nothing you can say in which he's going to forget I'm a tiny, humble servant of Krishna and a servant of everyone. Think of all the situations we could be in where you forget that, right? So let's just look at your plate for breakfast and you like immediately forget that you're not the enjoyer. I mean, you forget, yeah. Isn't it like that? You see something or you just get bewildered. We are forgetting that we're tiny, humble servants of Krishna when that happens. But that is impossible to happen. So for a pure devotee. So Prabhupada had all the resources, all the disciples, everything, and he was always the same. From the day he came in 1965 to the day he left with all these temples and opulence, he was the same person. What was that same person? I'm a humble servant of Krishna. That's it. Nothing changed. We change so easily. So that's the point. You remain a humble servant of Krishna inside. That will give you the power to do what's necessary externally without having to compromise your consciousness. Because that would be a travesty if you think, I can't be humble at work, I can't be humble. Humble means I'm a tiny servant of Krishna. Like you walk through the doors of your corporation like, amnesia, I'm no longer a tiny servant of Krishna. No, we can't do that. Would it make sense? Would it? Is that all right? And you can contemplate it more, but just think how much power it takes to recognize that I'm a little servant, a tiny servant. Because it's, our conditioning is I want to be recognized. I want to prove I'm right. I want to prove I'm better. I want to outdo others. I want the recognition. To give that up, that's power. Isn't it? Somebody can give it up. Wow. All the obeisances to them. They can rule the world now. They can become guru. Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam. The real, the real thing we have to give up, it's not even sex, meat eating, intoxication. That's simple stuff. The big thing is false ego. That's the big thing to give up, because that's the cause of all the other problems. So one who gives up the false ego, they're the most powerful. Like I was saying yesterday, Jayananda Prabhu, he had no false ego, therefore he was so powerful. I don't think he realized how powerful he was. He was so humble. It's like he never even had like a perception of how powerful he was and how successful he was as a devotee, because he just never felt like he was anything special. But when you saw him, it's like, wow, oh my God, this is so rare. This person is so humble, it's so rare, it's so powerful, that just being in his presence, you want to be a devotee. It's like he was the billboard, he was the mascot for Krishna consciousness. And people loved him, and there are stories of how non-devotees loved him. They only met him once a year, and they like fell in love with him. That's power, isn't it? You know that story? They used to get a permit, or they get some kind of permit, and the lady was always like really not very nice, maybe nasty sometimes. And then one time they went for the permit. I mean, this is after Jayananda had left his body, and she said, well, where's Johnny Ananda? I think they called him Johnny Ananda, or where's John, or whatever. And this lady was kind of like, had a hard shell and, never smiled and this and that. And they said, well, he left his body. And she said, excuse me. She went back. She had a breakdown. She was so affected by like 5 minutes a year because he was such a sadhu. That's power, isn't it? That's the power of humility. You can affect somebody like that because you're so pure, no one's seen it. And then you deal with the other stuff as you need to. Protect yourself from being abused and so forth. But don't give up your humility. Here's the point. Don't give up your Krishna consciousness to do something practical because you think in order to do this practical thing, I can't be Krishna conscious. That's an illusion. It doesn't make sense, right? But we think that way, isn't it? I can't, they're going to take advantage of me, this and that. No, you're just allowing them to. But you don't want to give up your Krishna consciousness in order to accomplish anything. That doesn't make sense, materially or spiritually. It's a challenge, I admit, and a lot of us are, it's hard. It takes maturity to figure out how to do that. But once you figure out how to do that, you kind of rule the world now, because you never compromise your principles for anything, and that's beautiful. And the story that there's like a factory is bought out by a Muslim, and all these Hindus are working, and he said, okay, new rule, no tilak. No, because they're all, in India, everybody wears some kind of tilak, or many people do. He said, no tilak, no tilak. And one Hindu, he's like, whatever, I'm wearing tilak, this is my religion. So he, but nobody else wore it, because I guess they thought they would lose their job. And the owner of the business said, none of you can wear a tilak except him, because he was bold enough to come, because he's dedicated to his religion. He's the only one that can wear tilak. Wow, that's power, right? Anyway, it's a good point, isn't it? Like I was once thinking of writing a book. I actually started to write it about the qualities of Prabhupada that could empower people in their lives to be better. Like looking at how did your spiritual master do what he did, but analyze more from a practical level of how he accomplished it. And one of the chapters was don't compromise your principles. And we saw with Prabhupada, he never compromised principles. And there were, those situations where it's like, if we just compromised our principles, it would be so much easier. You ever been in those situations? Prabhupada didn't do that. Rarely, occasionally, but rarely. And there were situations where he did not compromise principles, and it caused the decrease of book distribution in a huge way, which was like really interesting. He didn't want to compromise the principles, even at the cost of book distribution. The biggest book distribution party kind of fell apart because the leader was creating problems for the temples, and Prabhupada said, that's it, you're out of the party. But Prabhupada, if I'm not there, the party will fall apart. I'll take charge, you're out. And it did fall apart. But Prabhupada was willing to do that, to maintain the integrity of our movement. Because every temple was losing all their brahmacharis. When the bus came with the sannyasis, a bus comes with sannyasis, where do you want to go? You want to go with the sannyasis. Prabhupada said, if I were brahmachari, I'd want to go also. But he ordered that it be stopped, and he felt he had to remove the person who he thought was responsible for it. So that was a huge thing, but he didn't compromise his principles. So that's an example. I gave the other examples in the book. How Prabhupada was just, one time, there was like Maya in the movement. In one temple there was Maya. And Prabhupada said, you need to have 5 classes a day. So obviously that's going to reduce the preaching work, because 5 classes a day, that's like, that's like 3 more classes than we normally have, or 4 more classes. So, at least 3 more hours. But it was necessary, because there were problems. So, it's a super important point. Don't compromise your principles to get something done. Because in the long run, you're going to lose. You're going to lose your principles. You'll get something done, but you lost. And you lost the principle. Is that all right? Does that make sense? Thank you. Someone else had a question. No? Yes, yes.
I wanted to circle back to this story about the coach who said that you either get success or excuses. Is it right? Okay. And I wanted to ask, how do you harmonize it with this basic statement in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says that you don't own your success or failure, you cannot control it.
Yeah.
So
this is a good question. I think it's super misunderstood. Don't be attached to the results. All right, if no devotee in ISKCON were attached to the results of what they're doing, I don't think we'd have much of a ISKCON. Prabhu, I thought you were supposed to go to London in 1969 and start a temple. I'm not attached. What are you doing there? Just whatever. That's not what it means. It means you could see in the life of every devotee who's preaching, they're actually very attached in one sense. They have a vision. This is what we want to do. Like, I'm sure you have a vision here in this temple of, the future. You want more Mantra 108s, maybe another temple. And I'm sure a lot of you are really attached to that vision. When Krishna says don't be attached, he means don't be attached to what you get from it. Don't be attached to enjoying it. So, and there are times when you try to get something and it's for Krishna and it's not happening. So at that point you're like, okay, I can't be attached because it's not for me. Maybe if it was for me, I was like, I'm going to do this no matter what. My false ego's on the line. I have to prove myself. So those are the 2 areas where detachment comes from. I'm very attached to serving my guru the way he wants to be served. But if I'm not capable of doing it on that level, at least if I try hard, then I can detach. I did my best. But, I served, and now so much facility has come. That's for Krishna, not for me. So when we say, don't be attached to the results, Krishna's saying don't be attached to the sense gratification that you could get from your work. And the other one is from Rupa Goswami, over endeavor is the cause of fall down. Like you're trying, you ever try to do something, it's like the universe is conspiring to not make it happen, and you're just like, it's got to happen. And you're like, is it Krishna testing me, or is it just I should stop doing this, And it's not always easy to know, but sometimes it's like, it's not Krishna testing you, it's just not going to happen. Or Krishna's looking at you and go, you're not ready to manage something like this, I'm not going to give it to you. And sometimes it works the other way, he just gives it to you. You didn't expect it. So we want results, but we're detached. It's a beautiful story. Prabhupada came to America and he wanted to get help from his godbrothers. And there was one disciple of one of his godbrothers who was willing to come. So Prabhupada said, ask your guru if you can come. Because Prabhupada needed help and he wanted help from experienced devotees. That Brahmacharya asked his guru, and his guru didn't have faith in Prabhupada's mission, and his guru said, it's ludicrous. His Bhaktivedanta Swami's attempt to spread Krishna consciousness in the West is ludicrous. I mean, it's foolishly stupid, basically. And Prabhupada wrote him and he said, you know, basically, we've been given the order by Bhaktisiddhanta and there's no failure if we try. We're just soldiers in the field, we do our best. So that's the detachment. We do our best, because we know that's what will please Krishna. At the same time, every devotee in their mind somewhere is like, I know all I have to do is do my best, but I really I want to get this result because I can offer it to Prabhupada. And I know that's what Prabhupada wants, you know. So every one of us, when we were with Prabhupada, we always wanted to do something and we can say, Prabhupada, this is what I did. And Prabhupada give us like a little pat on the back. You know? So we did want those results. But he would pat us on the back if we just tried. But naturally, as a disciple, you know what your guru wants. You want to start a school, start a restaurant, start a temple, increase some programs, start a new program. And so you're very attached. Because you're attached to pleasing your guru, that's why you're attached. But if the universe conspires, it can't happen. It's like, well, I tried. Maybe he can make it happen and you can't. All right, let him do it. Something like that. So what I wanted to talk about today, we have like 13 minutes, was about how compassion, we talked a little bit about this, I think, how compassion is a necessary ingredient of forgiveness, and it's a necessary ingredient of any good relationship. And so I think I had mentioned, maybe it was after class, I can't remember, that compassion is when you kind of understand the suffering of another person and what they've gone through, and therefore their misbehavior is understood. Now I understand why he's doing that. It's because this is where they're coming from. So instead of like, how dare you treat me that way? Don't you know who I am? I try to understand who you are, and understanding who you are explains why you did this. Would you like to do an exercise?
Yes.
Okay, so for this exercise, everyone needs a partner, so it's got to be twos. And if we have odd numbers, I'll be someone's. If you're left, after everyone has a partner and you're left alone, don't know what to do, I'll be your partner. So everyone needs a partner, and once you get a partner, I'll explain why. So just sit next to your partner and you can face them. And in a minute or so, if you can't figure out where to get a partner, just raise your hand, and maybe two of your hands will be up and we can match. But to get a partner, you need to... Okay, raise your hand if you don't have... Vasudev, you need a partner? He's right there. There's your partner. Anyone not have a partner? Okay. So, I will explain this exercise. So, one of you choose who's going to be partner A. So partner A, raise your hand. Okay? So partner A, tell partner B, you go first. So partner B is going to go first, okay? So I am now speaking to partner B. Partner B, partner A is going to be the person you want to forgive or the person you have an issue with. So who amongst you two, who's who?
I'm B.
You're B. So she, what's your name?
Diksha.
Diksha?
Maitri.
So Diksha is incarnating, transforming to the person. Maitri is trying to forgive. And no. I'm half asleep. No. Diksha is going to be Maitri, and Maitri is the person she's trying to forgive. So let's say John is the person Maitri's trying to forgive. Maitri is now John, and Diksha is now Maitri. And so what's happening is Maitri, as John, is going to tell herself, in the form of Diksha, what is going on that caused him to mistreat you. Like, you know, and it can be, and you're thinking, I don't know. This is the exercise of compassion. to try to understand what was going on in that person's life and consciousness that made them do that. So if let's make it a hypothetical. So I'm Maitri, and now Maitri is John, and Diksha is Mahatma. So Mahatma, the question is like, how could you have done that to me? And I could say something like, I didn't mean it. I didn't wake up that in the morning thinking I'm going to do that, but this was the situation, or I didn't even realize I was doing it. I didn't realize I have this nature, or my life has been difficult. I've been treated this way, and that's how I treat other people, and I don't like it, but I don't know how to change. Whatever it is that you try to enter the world of compassion of that person. For some of you, you probably know that person well, and you can do it. Others, you don't. And compassion means to feel the pain of another person. So just kind of trying to feel his pain or her pain and express that. And it will help you understand the story of your resentment from a different perspective, which could neutralize it, because compassion is very powerful. Raise your hand if you didn't understand what I just said. Okay, I'll do it with all enough. Okay, let's do it again. I'm here, all enough. I am partner B, all enough's partner A. Partner B, raise your hand. Partner B, you are the person you're trying to forgive. Partner A, you don't have to do anything. All partner B has to understand is partner A is now Mahatma Das. So I'm trying to forgive this sannyasi guru who dumped everything on my head and left ISKCON, and the whole temple crashed. So we'll just call him Swami. So I am Swami. I am now Swami. Allah I'm not is, Allah Nath is Mahatma Das. So now I'm trying to explain, I was given sannyas when I was 26, and I was made a guru when I was 27, and I didn't want to be sannyasi, and I didn't want to be a guru. And all my disciples were my own age, and I didn't feel like I was very much advanced. And I have all these female disciples, they're like 3 years younger than me. And I could, I never had a girlfriend, I never had any of that, and I don't really think I'm ready for this. And I thought it was better that I just, bow out gracefully, because so many of my godbrothers just fell down. They tried to do it and they felt it was artificial, and I really didn't want to do it. And I know that I disappointed you, and I know that I let you down. Actually, later on, he told me that, those two things. I know I disappointed you and I let you down. Well, so I can say that, because I know. And what I'm saying now were realizations I had, because I didn't feel this way towards him, because I didn't think that way. But then later on I understood. So now I can speak from his perspective. And I'm sure if he was here today, he'd say, exactly, that's exactly how I feel. So as much as you can try to feel that person, you do that. And just pray to Krishna to give you some guidance. And then, so when I finished doing that, that's all I needed to say. That was it. That speech just transformed my resentment. Then it's his turn. And now he's going to become the person he's trying to forgive, and I'm becoming Alanat. Yes?
So is any person that you want to forgive, or the person in front of you?
Not the person in front of you. He has nothing to do with it. Yeah. Hopefully it's not the person in front of you. I mean, it could be. I guess he'll figure that out, right? The other question is, when the person is talking to you, the question is, well, what do you do? Just go, thank you or whatever? You can. But just, when you're listening, your job is just to listen. Don't look away, just look at them and just nod, because it makes it easier to speak. You could say thank you or, wow, whatever, I understand. Whatever you like, but basically you're listening. Okay, anybody not clear?
So we should explain, like...
No. You don't have to explain the situation at all.
Okay.
Because this person, you know the situation. And the whole exercise is for you to explain where this person is coming from. What's happening in their life that made them act that way towards you. That's all you're trying to do. Because that's what compassion is. Compassion means to go into a person's life and see their suffering, to understand why they're acting the way they act so you don't take offense.
Is it multiple individuals?
Just one.
I don't feel resentment towards anyone.
It doesn't have to be resentment, it could just be an issue, like a little thing that your wife said yesterday or whatever. You know, and you're like, I was tired and hungry, that's why I said that. Okay, get over it. You know, whatever. Okay, let's do it. And when you finish, just switch. It's time to shift, so partner A, it's your turn. Who needs more time? Anybody? Can we do one more minute? Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6. If you want to give a hug to your enemy, you can do that. Right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're supposed to end class now, but can we go a few more minutes just to get? Is that okay? Do I have more? This is too good now. We just want to get a couple of you to share your realization. Yes.
I was just reflecting. Actually, not very easy to do it.
Yeah.
And when you switch his position, when Alana was explaining about forgiving this person, I just felt I wanted to, burst out or something. Just so emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't handle it when he was explaining forgiving this person, and I felt so many emotions in that person. So yeah,
It was good.
it was
Difficult.
difficult, but to listen from somebody that has so many
Helps you.
things, I realized it's something deep in there.
Wonderful. Who else would like to share? Yes.
Hare Krishna. My partner said something very, very beautiful. That a secure person and a person that feels loved in their life would never hurt someone.
Yes. Yes.
So if someone has hurt us, it's because they're lacking that security and lacking that love.
Perfect. Thank you. Chinese wisdom. And one more person want to share? Yes.
During the sharing, I'm actually experiencing a very strong feeling also in my body. I mean, I didn't expect such a strong
What are you feeling?
impact.
What are you feeling? Release or happiness?
No.
Or pain or what?
Not pain, but like a sort of heaviness in my, yeah.
Why?
I don't know, I think maybe there is, there is something which is a little bit
Oh,
in there.
more investigation
Yeah, maybe.
required. Yeah.
Maybe
I
that's-
was just remembering something that my wife taught me. She's a marriage counselor, and it's exactly like this. They say when there's an issue between husband and wife, sometimes there's a story behind the problem, and once you understand the story behind the problem, then you understand the person. And then you're like, oh, that's why you do this. And so the example they gave is one man did not want their kids to go to church, and the wife insisted they must go to church. So the counselor said, what's the backstory? And the man said, my father was a pastor and he neglected me, so I have all this negativity towards the church. And the lady said, my parents neglected me, and it was the church where I found my solace. And so once they understood their stories, they came to a compromise. Isn't that nice? He said, I'll go, on the holidays, I'll go to church with you. And you can go whenever you want. And so if you're having an issue with another devotee, maybe there's a backstory you need to know. You know, and that's how we resolve issues. You know, like you say, they're hurting or something's going on. And if we have a little more compassion, our relationships will get better, right? Isn't it interesting? We're all about, Hare Krishna is all about compassion. Get out there and preach and be compassionate. But sometimes in relationships, we're not. We compartmentalize it, and we can't do that. We don't want to compartmentalize qualities that just we manifest to the external world, but amongst ourselves, we don't. That's not good, is it? So this is a great skill you can use in relationships, just understanding the pain and struggle and whatever the person is going through. And why we differ in opinions and why we can't get along can be dissolved many times. Okay? Good or great?
Too much great.
So we're going to take prasadam, and I just want to do a little advertisement for tomorrow. It's going to be better tomorrow. Tomorrow's the climax. We're going to take it like to a new level. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. No seminar like this ever. Hare Krishna.